Hey robot makers, how you doing? I hope you're having a good day so far. So do you want to learn how to share files, synchronize files between your Raspberry Pis and other computers? Then this is the show for you. So let's dive straight in. My name's Kevin. Come with me as we build robots, bring them to life with code, and have a whole load of fun along the way. Okay, let me get over to my slides and we can make a start on this cool show today. So yes, let that sink in. So yes, today's all about file syncing between Raspberry Pis. So if you've got a Raspberry Pi, more than one Raspberry Pi, one of the challenges often is you might want to get files on these different Raspberry Pis and keep them in sync. Now if you're using a regular desktop computer like a Windows or Mac or Linux machine, you might have some kind of file sharing app like Dropbox, OneDrive, iCloud, Google Drive, Box. There's a whole bunch of these, and what these things do is keep all your files in sync. And they do that through various different means, but essentially they copy the files from your machine up to some cloud drive, host them there, and then you can connect to them, things like your mobile drive, your mobile phone, or your laptop and other machines. Now typically these don't often work on Linux machines, so I'm not aware of a OneDrive or iCloud or Google Drive that works on Linux as an official client of that. So that's one of the challenges that we have if we want to sync files with our Raspberry Pis. Now you can just simply map a drive you can map a drive to a Raspberry Pi. Raspberry Pi is based on Linux, so they don't often have things out the box like Windows file sharing, which macOS now uses, SMB or Samba, that's often known as. So if we want to do this, we need something called Syncthing. This is a really cool piece of software. I only recently discovered this because I was looking for something to solve this exact problem myself. So let's have a look at what Syncthing is. It's really, really cool. So first of all, it's completely free, it's open source, and it works as well as on Raspberry Pis, which is a flavour of Linux. It works on Windows, macOS, and other Linux machines as well. It doesn't store files on any kind of cloud server. The files actually remain on the original device that you share them from, and then it will synchronize them in a kind of peer-to-peer networking way. It can do it over the internet, and it can also do it on your local area network as well. So it's really, really cool, completely free. There's kind of no catches with this, really. So you can synchronize multiple computers as well. I've actually got this running on about 5 or 6 computers at the same time. So if I drop a file onto one, it appears on all of them almost instantaneously, depending on the file size. And this means it's great for things like classroom environments. If you have a set of files that you want people to have access to without having to have a network server that they connect to, you can basically just use Syncthing, and it's very easy to set this up. I'll show you how to set this up in a moment. It's so simple to do. So today's show is sponsored by PCBWay. So I wanted to show you a couple of things that I've been working on previously and will be working on shortly to do with PCBWay. So I built these PCBs as a remote control project for my BurgerBot. So here's the BurgerBot. I can connect this just to a little battery and then use these up, down, left, right to remotely control the robot. And these are very simple PCBs. They simply just have the pinouts for the Pico, and then the GPIOs connect to various on and off buttons. The power goes to the power inputs on there, and that's pretty much it. So these conceptually are very simple. So I want to design a newer version of these PCBs, a version 2 that's got a little screen on, maybe some LEDs on there to indicate, maybe have the LEDs on a different side and they show through the transparency layer, all kinds of things like that. And I did make a bit of a mistake on this original version. You get these in kind of 5s. I made the holes on the Pico a bit too small, so I didn't get the drill size correct on those, so you can't push a Pico with headers through, and that's really what I intended to do. So you can surface mount them and solder them on, that worked fine, but I want to redo that. So with PCBWay I can do that very simply. Let me just grab a hold of my browser and let me get over to PCBWay and click on the right thing there. So got this bug in the software that I need to just flick between things. There we go. So this is PCBWay's website. Very simple to get a quote from them. You can basically just click on this instant quote. You can decide what kind of PCB that you want to use, and whether there's any additional services. So one of the things I might try this time is the assembly side. So rather than me soldering things incorrectly, I can go straight to the solder function and add that into my shopping list of things I want to buy from there. And you can simply say what type of board that you're going to use. Is it a very simple single piece ones? The different designs in the panel, what size the panel is going to be, because obviously these things affect the price of the thing that you're buying. Is it a single layer? Is it 2 layers? Up to 14 layers, which is insane. What kind of material you want? So is it FR4? Is it aluminium? And so on. Is it a copper base? And then you can even decide what grade of FR4TG you want to use as well, the transition temperature. Decide on the thickness of the board as well. So for some, I wanted them to be quite rigid, so they don't bend. These are nice and you can hold them. And you can even decide on what colour that you want the solder mask to be. So what colour the silk screen is, what colour the board is. You basically can customise this. And then once you've done that, you can upload the Gerber file, the file that will from KeyCAD or Fusion 360 that you've designed, and they will do a check on that. So when you send that through, it kind of runs through a pre-flight check. There you go, uploads the Gerber file, you put in your payment details, they then make it and then ship it out. And actually these ones came within 2 weeks, which is crazy because it's literally coming from the other side of the world. And I really do like the finish on these. They're really nice and smooth, no sort of splinters or anything like that. Really professionally made. So very, very impressed with the overall service. So yeah, thanks to PCBWay for that's the wrong button there. Thank you to PCBWay for sponsoring today's show. Okay, back to Syncthing. So we're going to set up Syncthing on a Raspberry Pi. I've got it set up on one Raspberry Pi already. I'm going to show you both of them and how it kind of interacts between the two. So if you want to install this yourself, if you go over to syncthing.net, you can download the files if you've got a Windows or Mac. You can also get some of the instructions on how to install this as well. Now, I have built a tutorial on how to do this as well on kevsrobots.com. I'll share that with you shortly as well. If you like what I do and you want me to make more of these kinds of videos, these kind of tutorial videos, please give me a like, drop me a comment if this is something that you're using. Also let me know if I'm wrong and that there are other Linux clients for things like Google Drive, iCloud, OneDrive and so on. I would like to know about that. And if you've not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. It means an awful lot to me and it'll help my channel grow that much faster. Okay, so I do go live as well every single Sunday at 7 o'clock British summertime we're currently in. So yes, you can check out and have a chat with me after the main part of the show. Okay, back to Syncthing then. So why do we want to use Syncthing? What are some of the benefits of using this over other solutions? So you can use this as an automatic backup. You can use Syncthing to back up your Raspberry Pi. That's one of the things I'm looking at doing as well. I've got a Raspberry Pi 400 over there that's got Minecraft on it, and I think it has all my weather data from my weather station that's sort of just behind me. So I want to be able to back up that data because it is just running on an SD card. So I want to learn how to do that. I found a tool that will allow me to basically back it up to an image file, and I can then host that on one of the other Raspberry Pis that's got a larger SSD drive on it. So automatically backing up, that's one of the things we can do very simply with Syncthings. Real-time synchronization. So it's perfect for teams working on projects together where you need instant access to this, and it ensures that the same version is applied to all the machines that are connected to that share. And it's also very secure as well. So it has end-to-end encryption, protects the files from unauthorized access during that sort of file transfer. Now, one of the cool things about this is it's peer-to-peer, so there is no cloud dependency. The way that Syncthing does work is that it uses a kind of proxy on the internet. I think it's hosted by Syncthings themselves, and that helps the negotiation between two of the devices. But that's all that happens there. Is it basically just says this is where this machine is, and this is where this share is, and then it lets you get on with it from there. But there is no subscription fees, there's no third-party cloud, and you don't have to worry about any other kind of privacy concerns. It's nice and secure. And it works across all locations, so you can have this in your home, your office, with your friends, your family. Really cool way of sharing files completely for free. And it's very efficient on network use as well. So if you're syncing things on the same local area network, it doesn't have to go out to the cloud to grab those files. Often, so if you're in a school, for example, and you had some files that you wanted to sync, often each machine on the network would have to contact the cloud and grab the files themselves, whereas this just does it on your own local area network. So it can be very efficient. And like I said, it also does work from the internet. If you have somebody at a different location, it can synchronize those seamlessly too. And it's very flexible. You're in full control of where your files are stored and what files you share. So again, that's another benefit to using this. So the tutorial I've written is over at kevsrobots.com/blog/sync-files-with-syncthing. So if you head over to there, you can follow along. There's a few like long things you might need to cut and paste, so I've just made it easier to do that. I have also written a GitHub gist that's got a script that will install all of this, but I'm not 100% happy with how that works for installing the service yet. So you can basically just copy along today what we do. Okay, let's show you how to do this on a bunch of Raspberry Pis. I'm just going to get my notes up on my other screen there so I can see what I'm doing. Okay, so what I'm going to show you first then, if I go over to, let's go over to me for a second while I pull up one Raspberry Pi. And I shall go over to this screen, so I knew it'd do that. So this is the Raspberry Pi Dev 01. This is one of my new Raspberry Pi 5s. And what I've got in, I'm using VNC to connect to this virtual network computing. It's the, you can see their VNC viewer. It means I can remotely connect to this from the Mac that I'm showing you this on. So I've already got two folders set up on here, one that's not being shared at the moment and one called Syncthing, which is being shared. And you can see down there the remote device is this laptop that I'm using, Kev's MacBook M1. And this device is called Dev 01. So we're going to use this later on to as a remote device to share files too. So this has already got Syncthing installed. So if I now go over to the other machine, let me just find that one. Here we go. So this is my Raspberry Pi 400, the one I said I need to back up. Let me just move this little window out the way. Oops. There we go. And I'm just going to open up a terminal and I'm going to zoom in a bit on that terminal so that you can see what I'm typing as well. So Control Shift. There we go. That should be good enough. Let me know if you can see that okay. And what I'm also going to do is just get on my other screen that Kev's Robot tutorial. So this is the how to sync files. And this is also quite useful for me to be able to copy and paste commands from. So the first thing it says on here that we need to do is we need to launch the terminal. So we've just done that. We then need to update our packages list. So on Linux computers such as a Raspberry Pi, we have a package manager and it's called apt. So if we do sudo apt update, it will check online to see, have I got the latest manifest, the latest inventory of all the possible packages that are out there. So we've done that. Let's go back to our tutorial. Next we are going to install a package. It's a prerequisite that we need to install that's called apt transport https. So we can literally grab that, copy that into the clipboard, go back over to here, then I can do edit and paste. And if I do that, I've actually already installed this so that it wouldn't take ages on the live stream to do that. So that's now installed this apt transport HTTPS, and it's just a way of grabbing packages from a third-party supplier such as Syncthing securely using HTTPS, S for secure. Okay, we're going to now go over to the next bit. This is why it's great to have a tutorial where you basically just copy the entire command. So I'm just going to grab that there, copy that. This is a Syncthing repository key. I'll tell you what all these different parts are. So curl or curl is a little utility in Unix for grabbing things from web servers. So we're going to say grab using this path here, Syncthing release-key txt, which is the text file. We're piping that into GPG, which is the GNU pretty good privacy unencryption tool, and then we've got this demore, whatever that is. So it's basically just going to unencrypt it, and then we've got this sudo t, and then we have the actual key ring that we want to bring in. We're basically just going to paste that out to null, the output of the t command. So if I just copy that into my other machine, which we've got just here, let's do edit paste. That's going to grab that key and it's just going to store it on my local machine, and it means it's kind of got the key to be able to unencrypt those secure files when we grab them in a minute. Okay, so next up we want to actually grab the repository URL itself. So Raspberry Pi OS is actually a flavour of Debian Linux. I don't know if you know that already. It used to be called Raspbian, but now it's called Raspberry Pi OS, but it's actually a Debian Linux. So the packages are deb files, DEB files. So this command here is basically going to tell our local repository on our Raspberry Pi that there's a new repository that you can check for packages, and the package that we're actually after is this Syncthing. So if I grab this entire command here, it's just going to add this line into our Syncthings list. Now I think I've actually run this command already, so oops, we can go over to here and we can actually check that that keyring. So if I go to actually let's do ls, so user share keyrings and then Syncthing. Yes, I've already got that one there, so we can actually catalog that if we wanted to. Let's just grab that and just have a look what's in it. It will basically just look like a load of random characters. Let me just go back to the beginning there. Let's get rid of that. There we go. Just looks like loads of garbage, but essentially that's the key, the certificate to open up the secure file. So because I've already done that, I don't need to paste in that command and run that again. Okay, next up is actually running the update command again, because now that we've updated the list of the manifest of these are new packages, new repositories you can get things from, we now need to run that update. So we can do, let's paste that in again, sudo apt update. So now it can go over to app.syncthing.net and check that if there's any new updates to the Syncthing repository. So now that it knows about that, we can finally install Syncthing. So if I go over here, the next thing is simply to do sudo apt install Syncthing. So I'm just going to copy that, go back across here and paste that command in. So there we go. It's now grabbing that from Syncthing. It's only about 10 meg in size. It's really, really small, very, very lightweight, and doesn't really take up very much CPU in the background. Obviously, it'll take up network traffic when you're using Syncthing. So now if we go over to the menu, we go to Internet, we've got two new options. We've got Start Syncthing, and we have the Syncthing web user interface. So let's start Syncthing, and not very much will appear in the background when you do that, but now we can go over to the Syncthing web user interface. So it's going to load up whatever browser that you have on there. I think it's Chromium on this one, and then it's basically going to go to that local connection there. So once Syncthing has loaded up, let's just get rid of that window there. We'll then see all the information. Here we go. So it's an unknown device. It's basically just grabbing the details, I guess, from this machine. So that should update in a second and just say RPI 400. And we can see as well on here some stats. So currently we've not uploaded or downloaded anything. We haven't shared anything out with any other devices. So what I want to do is I want to add a remote device and I want to set up a share. So let's set up a new folder. So we click on this add folder button for that. It's a little bit sluggish there. I wonder what's going on. I bet my Minecraft server is running. I'm just going to do docker ps and see if everything's running on there that slows it down. No, it's not. So you can ignore that. Just wanted to check that it wasn't being particularly slow. Right, so on this dialog box here, we've got a couple of fields that we need to fill out. So we can give this folder a label if we want to. We can give it kind of a descriptive name. So I could call this Kev's Livestream Shared Folder, something like that. The folder ID is required for the folder sharing, but we can basically ignore that. We can just click on here and type in a folder that we want to share. Now, if this folder doesn't exist, the Syncthings will create that for you. So this is really great that it does this for us. So if we go over here, it's even got that little tilde /, and that means that's like a shortcut to home/kev, which is the sort of the proper path to this file. So if we call this one live, type that properly. It's quite slow to type on here, so let me just 1 2 3 4. That should get us back to the L there. Live. I'll just call it live. That's nice and simple. Let's wait for that to catch up. And what will happen is that folder ID will also grab that same name. So if we now save that, so this is a shared folder on this Raspberry Pi, the Raspberry Pi 400. That's actually called Ive now because I typed that wrong. So if we go over to our folder, we can see that under Kev, there will be a folder that's called Ive very shortly appearing on here. Let's check that's all good. So let's just check on the Syncthing that's in the list. Yeah, for some reason it didn't seem to pick that one up. I'm just going to try that one again. It does seem to be a bit laggy. Let's just try that again on there. So just waiting for it to catch up there. This is like really slow. I'm not sure what's going on there. So that /live, like so. And it might just be that the interface hadn't caught up. Let's see if it likes that one this time. There's a couple of other tabs on there like sharing, file versioning, ignore patterns and advanced. Ignore patterns is if there are certain files that you never want to share across there. Say it was a Python program that you were running and you didn't want the virtual environment copying across, or the Python cached files, the .pyc files. You could basically add those to an ignore list and it'll never synchronize those. So that's a nice way of doing that. Right, so we've now got this this new folder that we've shared appeared in our list. So we can now add remote devices to that if we want to. So you can see there, that one's called Sync, so it wasn't that one. It must be this one here that's called Live. Let's see. There we go. There's the Live one. Okay. So it's got that... I might edit that. I don't like the name of that. That looks a bit ugly. I'm sure you can have it just have the name of like the folder itself. So we could just have that folder ID just to be called Live, for example. It might not let me add that or edit that now that I've set that up. So we're going to go now over to the other Raspberry Pi and we're going to grab an ID. So the way that this peer-to-peer file sharing works is it has these identification codes, I guess they are. So I'm going to go over to the other one and I'm actually going to remove this from this device. So if you see this, don't worry about any kind of cyber security thing. I will actually remove this after. So this is the Devo one, which is one of my development Raspberry Pis, and on here there is this ID. So I'm going to click on that ID. You get this QR code and you get this really long ID. So I'm just going to click on copy. That's going to copy it to my clipboard, and because I'm using VNC I can actually copy clipboards between Raspberry Pis. If I now go back over to the Raspberry Pi 400 and I click down here to add a remote device, I can now paste in that really long ID and it'll be able to find that. So if I just come over to this remote device ID and I basically just paste that in. So if I just right click and paste, and then I click save, it will actually grab the name of the other device. Now to make sure that this isn't insecure, I've essentially sent a request to that other Raspberry Pi. So if I now jump back to that one, we'll see on that Syncthing page, a new device, Raspberry Pi 400, wants to connect. Do you want to add this device? So this is kind of a secure handshaking between the two. So if I click on add device, I'm going to save that. And I go back to the Raspberry Pi 400, we can now see that we have a remote device that's now connected. So we can now go into that folder. Let's find it on our file system. So there it is, Live. I can go in here and I can start creating folders and things. So let's call this one live stream 21st April and 7:30 PM, something like that, just so that you know that this is the same file. So this is on our Raspberry Pi 400. You can see up there the name. And if we now go back over to that other Raspberry Pi, and we also open up the file system on that one, you should see that we have a file system on there that's also called Live. Let me find that. So it should be under Kev. Sometimes it takes it a couple of seconds to sort of catch up. I'm going to check that there's nothing else I need to do on there. So it says it's unused there. And very shortly those files should start appearing. I think it just takes a moment or two to to make that connection and start synchronizing the files. So I have got this Kev Syncthing. This is one I've been using kind of in earnest, and I've got 2 gig shared between about 5 Raspberry Pis on that one. So if I go over to that particular folder, I can show you under Kev's Syncthing that we have a whole bunch of things. So I've been learning FreeCAD recently, and I've been trying out all kinds of things like how to build a SMARS chassis. I think I've got one of those to hand, using FreeCAD, which is a really cool piece of free software. So you can see there's the package that the model I'm working on, and it's got a couple of errors, so I'm working on that one. But I can use my Raspberry Pi 5 with FreeCAD installed and use Syncthing to synchronize those files between them. And wherever I go, even on my Mac, I've got the same folder with the exact same files in there, and they're always up to date. So I absolutely love how simple this is to use, and how sort of reliable it is to share files between all the different Raspberry Pis that I have. So yeah, if I go over to that development 1 PC, let's have a look. Let's see if that's on there. Is that a good example? Basically, there's about 5 other computers using that same Syncthing. I've also got this installed on my Mac. So if I open up, in my let's open up this here. So you can see here we have, it says they're disconnected because I haven't started the Syncthing service on 2, 3 and 4 and Buddy Junior, which is just next to me there. So like I said, I am working on making this service automatically start up. And if you want to have a look at that, you can head over to, let's go to GitHub / Kevin McAleer. Let's go for gist.github. And I think I put a link to this in the kezrobot.com article as well. And the Syncthing service is something that we can add to our Raspberry Pi and have that automatically start when the Raspberry Pi starts up. And I've even built a little installer file, so it does all those things that we've just gone through, using curl, updating the repository, installing Syncthing, and then it copies that sync service file that's just above there to the correct location, enables it, and then starts it. So that should mean that we can get this automatically running whenever we reboot our Raspberry Pi. We had a power cut last night, that's why they're all offline, and I've not been on there just to check through. So that's not quite there yet. I think it has still got a few little bugs in that piece, but I'll basically be working on that, and that's where you can find it. So if you go over to the article there, I think at the very end I've got a link to that. So there we go. I've got all the instructions on how to add folders, just like I've shown you there. So a couple of gotchas and things to note I've called out here. So it's great synchronizing files between Raspberry Pis. It is secure and it's free. You've got to be careful you don't fill up your Raspberry Pi's SD card. So I've got an example SD card here. This one is only 8 gig in size, so it'll be very easy to fill up that with not very much files, to be fair. So you've got to make sure that what you put in there doesn't fill up your entire Raspberry Pi. Now Syncthing is intelligent enough to cap that. If it gets within 1% remaining of your file system, it won't create any more files or sync them. It'll basically just say the drive is full and let you decide what you want to do from there. So just be mindful. They don't tend to have a lot of storage on them out the box, Raspberry Pis, unless you do have one of these NVMe base with the SSD, because you can have quite large storage on them. And it's best to use the synchronization area as a kind of transport or staging area rather than as a live working environment. And that's simply because when you're using things like when I was using FreeCAD just then, it creates temporary working files, and Syncthing will also synchronize those temporary working files. And sometimes programs can get a bit funny about that, particularly if they're using it as like a locking mechanism where they create a file and then remove it and so on. So Syncthing might get out of sync with that and get into a bit of a tiz. So just be mindful and use it as kind of a staging area to drop things in, to share it. So pretty cool for doing that. Cool. And then the link to the code there you can see is the one that I've just visited and shown you on screen. Cool. I think that's everything on there I wanted to show you. And of course, you don't have to just use Raspberry Pis. You can use any other Windows, Mac, and so on as well. So if you want to help support the show, you can get yourself one of these cool Robot Maker hats. Got them in different colours, as well as some mugs. I have my mug. I take this to work with me as well. So I've got a Kes Robot mug there, and we'll be bringing out the Robot Maker almanacs pretty soon. Honestly, I promise. I've got all the stuff there. I've got hundreds of pounds worth of like paper and materials to make these. I just need some time to do it, but it was Alex's birthday weekend this weekend, which is why she's not on the show with us today. So if you want to help support the show, you can check out some merch there. And if you want to join our Discord server, you can head over to kesrobots.com/discord to get yourself a free sign up link for that and join our online community. It's a really great place to hang out. Cool. And if you want to follow me on social media, I'm basically on all the different social medias there. So on Threads, I'm at Kevin MacLear at threads.net. I'm on TikTok at Kevin MacLear6. Really 5 other Kevin MacLears out there. And on Instagram, I'm at Kevin MacLear. I'm the only one on there, I guess. I do sometimes get mistaken by the Irish comedian. I think he was in Derry Girls as the uncle or something on TV, if you've watched that in the UK or Ireland. And I'm at KevsMac on X. Still think of it as Twitter. And then on Mastodon, I'm at kevsmac at mastodon.social, and I'm also on Blue Sky at kevsmac.bsky.social as well. So follow me on there, say hi, show me some pictures of robots that you're working on, or any project that you're working on, to be fair. And if you want to help support the show, there's a couple of other ways you can do this as well. You can get your name in the end credits, like some people are going to get in a second, simply by going to kesrobots.com/coffee, and you can buy a coffee there essentially as a one-off. If you want to join the YouTube membership program, we've got the join YouTube. Once you've subscribed, I think that gets replaced by the join button just down here somewhere. And if you're watching this live, you can also do a super chat, a super thanks and a super chat. So super thanks is for people watching on replay, super chat is for people who are watching this live right now, and I've got all that switched on, ready to go. So yeah, if you want to support the show, a couple of different ways you can do that. So let's give a shout out to some of the people who have supported the show so far. So we have Johnny, who bought a coffee recently. Thank you for that, Johnny. We have Shemi, we have Kevin, we have Lee, Alvaro, we have Marie, we have Jeff, Dian Corty, Marlene, Tom and Steve on the Buy Me a Coffee side. And then on the YouTube side, we have Paul Cummins, who's a new member. Thanks, Paul, for joining. We have Johnny, we've got Dale, we have Warren, we have Stephen, Jonathan, Oxrad39, Vince, John Paul Jolly, we have Alistair Ware, Cassie, we've got Tinkering Rocks, JDM, Johnny, we have Handsome Cheerlights, Michael, and we have Tom as well. Thank you so much for supporting the show. Honestly, it means so much to me that you do that, and you help me afford the things that I need to do to make things such as these cool PCBs from PCBWay. Okay. So I think that's everything on the main show that I wanted to cover off today. Yes, there's my little outro screen that tells me it tells me that if you're watching this on replay, then you should see a nice little video just around about here that YouTube is recommending that you watch from my channel. Hopefully it's something related to something that you're interested in too, because it does pick the best for you. And if you watch one of them, it's as good as subscribing, because it tells YouTube that this is content that you're interested in, and therefore other people should see too. Cool. And if you're watching this on replay, like I said, then this is the part of the video where I'll say thank you so much for watching, and I shall see you next time.